Thanks for doing that.
Take my bed apart.
Their sheets ready. Their clean sheets already ready.
Yeah. On right now. There's no audio. Right?
No. I always mute. Nobody's on there.
It wasn't. Are you shooting?
It's not even open.
Oh, what is it? What is it? Eh?
It's a Zoom class.
For who?
For me.
From, but who's putting it on?
Our office in San Jose.
Shoot.
Okay. Please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to make sure I can share screens here.
Perfect.
Does that work?
It worked.
Cool. Make sure I can switch. I haven't done this too often yet on the sharing side, so bear with me. Can you see the offer checklist here?
Perfect.
All right. Got it down. How many people are usually on these? I haven't actually been on one yet.
There's usually anywhere from 25 to 30, or let's say 25.
pretty
Usually they start coming on a little later than, but
Yeah.
Laura's usually adamant about starting right at 9 and introducing yourself.
I was like, I better be early.
Yeah, she'll be on any minute now, I'm sure.
It's have you hosted any of these yet?
I did, what was the class? I did one, yeah.
Yeah, it's always weird when you're the one hosting because you can't see everybody. So you're like, am I talking to myself? Is anybody here?
Yeah, and the thing, they're a little bashful.
Yeah.
So, okay, here she comes Laura.
Hey,
Good morning.
morning.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
I'm fine, thank you. Hi, everybody. Good morning.
I like your background.
Oh, that's my vision board.
Nice.
I was on a girlfriend's Zoom yesterday, and I had that up behind me.
I can't do the background. Half my face is in the background. It's not really, doesn't work for me.
I know it. Some people have a really hard time with it.
Yeah, my computer doesn't like it.
Are you on a Mac?
No, it's a PC. It's a few years old though, so I think the camera is probably a little out of date.
Okay. Do you want to practice really quick sharing your screen?
I did just before you came in, so.
It worked. Did Renee help you?
Yeah.
Thanks, Renee. Okay.
See,
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah, there you go. I can see it.
I was gonna
So,
leave
and
it
then
off so I can see people before we start.
yeah, so I'll just ask you, we still have a couple minutes. Right at 9 o'clock, if you'll just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about who you are. And then while you're sharing your screen, Amanda, it helps if somebody else is kind of keeping an eye on the chat room for you. It's kind of hard to do both.
Yeah. I did a class last week and I was noticing that because it was my first time doing it from the presenting end. And I was like, yeah, now I get why everybody has somebody helping.
Yeah.
you can't see anything except your own PowerPoint.
And I have a leadership, the international leadership call at 9. So I'll mute myself and hide myself and I'll have you in the background. But if you need me, just holler. Okay.
Okay.
But I think you'll be fine.
Hopefully.
And I'm gonna put a couple of comments in the chat room just to remind people where the materials are and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Does everybody know, like, I mean, are you doing the script practice and stuff during, or is everybody just doing that at the 10 o'clock so I can skip those sections?
Yeah,
Okay.
just do the class from 9 to 10 and then the rest of the day is when they're supposed to do everything else.
Okay. Because there's a couple slides that had like breakout stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's a slide on like making offers in command, which I'm not like there on there. So I think that might be a whole nother class, to be honest.
Okay, making offers inside
Yeah,
of
there's
Command or creating opportunities?
It's like using the opportunity to make an offer. Like, so I don't know if you're just putting the offer information into command or like.
There's some states that are going to allow you to do that. California with zip forms is not allowing us to download the forms. So that's why it's not applicable to us.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
we'll skip that then because I was like, I don't think we're doing that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
AJ would know.
Yeah, so I put a contract last week and we are running through the whole exercise. And even though the way we make offer is not the way command is set up, we ran through that exercise. It's still going to take some time to get it to a point where how we do the work. So agreed with both Renee and Laura that, yeah, we need to wait a little bit.
All
we can
righty.
definitely do the opportunity part in terms of once you are in contract, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
But you-
for sure.
You're-
Yeah, that's very helpful.
Yeah, that's different. Yeah,
So you're right, Amanda, you don't need to cover that today then.
Okay. cool.
All right, it's 9 o'clock. Are you ready to go?
Do we have the
Here,
usual people?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute everyone just to get us started and then I'll unmute you and you can get started, okay?
All righty.
Okay, Amanda. So if people want to speak, they should unmute themselves. And if you don't mind getting started and introducing yourself, that'd be great. And I'll be in the background if you need me. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Be nice to me. This is my first Ignite, so I'm excited to be able to help you guys. But yeah, my name is Amanda Newlove. I am coming up on 4 years in the business because I have to do my license renewal this year. Little background about me. I have a degree in biology and a degree in 3D animation and video game art. So naturally, I'm in real estate now. So anyway, I like to do a little bit of my own marketing and stuff because I have that background. But today we're actually going to be talking about preparing offers and writing your offer and also presenting your offer when you are on the seller side as well. So let me start the little thingy here.
Amanda, you want me to monitor the chat for you?
Yeah, actually, that would be great because it's definitely harder when you have your screen taken up by the PowerPoint. So
Can do that for you. No worries.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. So that's my information in case you guys have any questions for me afterwards. You can look me up in the Keller Williams stuff too, but I am at the Campbell office. So I know we have a few people from Santa Cruz and Gateway and Campbell. If you guys wanted to put, I don't know what everybody's background is, if you wanted to put in the chat, like how much years or months that you've been in real estate, so I kind of have an idea of who all is on here. Although maybe I can't see the chat, it's not opening up.
Yeah, because I guess if you have the whole screen taken up.
All right, nobody said anything. There we go. Month, 20 years. So we have a range, it sounds like. So cool. All right. So I wanted to start off just to see, I haven't been on any of these Ignite sessions. Does anybody have anything they want to share or success stories? If you want to unmute yourself for a second and let us know how it's been going so far. Nobody wants to share?
Amanda, I've been on a few of these, and they've been really been good in getting you started on the in the morning. I haven't attended the next part, the mastermind, after the Ignite session, but these have been really good, and they've been in one. They've been in a series, and they've followed logically how we do business. So that has been very good. Yeah.
Good. All right, cool. Well,
Hey,
so
Amanda.
today, hey, how you doing?
Hey, Amanda, you got to give us a little time when you ask for stuff. It takes us time to unmute. It takes us time to react. So give us a
Okay.
little time, but these trainings have been very good. So thank you very much for taking your time to train us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming.
Amanda,
Hey, good morning, Amanda.
Amanda, real quick, if you just count to like 10, just give people a little time to respond is all. Thank
Okay.
you.
Hey, good morning, Amanda. My name is Randy Sedano. I'm in the Gateway office, and I've been on, I'd say, probably over half of these sessions, and they're pretty good. I've been in the business for a while, and I'm learning things from it. It's always good to get tips from other people that have been doing it a while. I'll be doing tomorrow's Negotiate the Deal, and so it's going to be very a little bit of overlap from today and tomorrow. So it's going to be a good session tomorrow. So hopefully everybody tunes in.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say we're kind of hand in hand because this one is how to prepare the offer, but we're not necessarily talking about negotiations today. It's more about setting expectations for your clients and then also making sure you ask a lot of questions and know what you're doing before you write your offer. So with that, we have kind of the offer process here, which a lot of you are familiar with. Some of you are new and kind of going to learn how this is. But you kind of want to know in advance just so that I think bottom line, setting expectations for your clients is going to be really important on these. So a lot of this you may want to know in advance, just so if you have your buyer presentation, you can decide like how much of this content you want to be, somebody's not muted. There we go. You want to decide how much of this content you might want to have in a buyer presentation. That way you kind of set that expectation, because things move fast in this market, and you don't want to be, we have a couple hours to write this offer, and then the buyer has all these questions that you could have answered maybe a couple days ago and kind of set that expectation up front, but now you're kind of backtracking and trying to get everything done as fast as possible. So it's good to be prepared in advance. So in general, and I like to kind of just not overwhelm the clients with too much information too far in advance, but you can kind of go over the general process with them up front. So, when your buyer is making an offer, there is 3 options that will happen from the seller side. They may decide to counter the offer, they may just accept the offer as it stands, or they may reject the offer. And so, if they counter, great, you're kind of still in the ball game. You may go into the negotiation, which is going to be the class tomorrow. And that might be a loop where they kind of come back to you, and then you have to decide what you want to make your offer again, or if you want to change it. Sometimes it may be just changing a couple dates and contingencies, or it might be price, or it might be a number of things. So that might be a loop where you're trying to figure out what the best solution is for your buyer's offer to get accepted. If they just accept it, great, you're in escrow, you're ready to go. If they reject it, you may want to contact the listing agent and find out, why was our offer rejected? See if you can get a second chance at it, or if they've already accepted a different offer. And then for those of you who had experience doing this process, what have you noticed from emotionally what your buyer or seller might be going through during this stage?
A roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, I always tell all of my clients, this is an emotional process for you. It absolutely is. My job is just to present everything for you and act in your best interest. So buyers sometimes can't help but get attached right away. They walk in and they're like, oh my gosh, this is my house, I love it. So trying to not necessarily combat that in writing an offer or getting into negotiations, but counteracting it and remaining objective versus emotional.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's important for the agent to try to be that rock for them, because they're going to definitely be emotional, and they're going to be asking, what's happening, what's happening, what's happening? So if you set some of those expectations of this is what's going to happen next up front, then they'll at least know and not be like, what's going on? What's going on? Okay, I remember that's when you told me this next thing's going to happen. Okay. So it kind of levels it out a little bit.
Yeah, Amanda, we discussed this for this offer last week in detail, you and I. But
Yeah.
one thing I learned from, and I told you this was a great learning experience for me, but making an offer, I always feel like because of the competitive situation here and because of multiple offers in our area, which is the norm, I try to see if I can just keep us in play, right? And give the buyer a chance. So my whole goal is maybe not winning the first time itself, but just being in the place so we have a chance to win the game, So, and I talked to you about that. So that's what I did in this offer too, just trying to get as close to it as possible, if not outright winning it.
Yeah, definitely. And some of that's going to be in the negotiation side of things. And some of that for me is on the paperwork side of things. So I learned to make your offer signable. So you also want to know your contracts and have it filled in to the T, no blanks, undone and stuff like that, so that your offer is like they could just sign it as is and they don't have to counter you to fix a small error or something in the paperwork. And then, yeah, like AJ was saying, to keep them in the running the whole time, that's going to be kind of partially on the negotiation aspect as well, to be asking that listing agent for questions and see where you stand.
Very true. Yeah.
And it's very important, Amanda, to know what are the expectations of the seller, to understand the seller, and to make an offer that seller will be happy with. Because if we are making an offer to please just the buyer, whatever the buyer wants, what they expect and everything, it won't work. It's a teamwork. Everybody, we want the seller and the buyer happy. We want everybody happy. We want to work as a team together and make it work.
Yeah, and we'll get into that like a little bit in a few minutes here too. So the next step would be you're going to start preparing your offer. So I think you guys, since you've been in the Ignite the last couple weeks, there is that toolkit folder that you can download. Does everybody? I think everybody might have that already. It has these checklists in there. So I'm going to share my screen on one of them. The checklist to prepare the offer. So you guys will all have these. If you don't already, they're in that toolkit that you can download from Connect. And so question for you guys, what do you think can be prepared before the offer itself?
Paperwork?
I'll give you a hint. It's all of this stuff on this paper. So checklist to prepare an offer. And I think like AJ was saying, like everything moves quickly here. So, you know, if you have a client going to see a house on the weekend, even with the way things are right now, I mean, we're hearing multiple offers and craziness out there still. So, you know, you may see the house on the weekend and then offers are due Tuesday. Well, your buyer goes, I'm not going to decide till I sleep on it till Monday. And then all of a sudden you're in a rush to write your offer. So you may want to be, while they're thinking about it, preparing some of these things and making sure. So we'll kind of go through this list here. Obtain the buyer's pre-approval from their lender. So obviously you want to make sure they're pre-approved. If they're not pre-approved, you can't even, in this market especially, you can't even really write an offer, right? So, you know, it's up to individual agents if they want to show properties. When the buyer is not pre-approved, it's better if they are. I mean, you got to explain to them and set that expectation that if you fall in love with this house, we can't write an offer on it, right? Unless you're pre-approved. So that's something you can do in advance. And then later on, when you go to actually write the offer, you can have your lender tailor it to the purchase price, right? Because you don't want to show them if they're qualified for 1.2 and you want to offer 1.1, you don't really want to show that pre-approval letter for 1.2. So what, let's see. So then you also can do a CMA. So you can show them, you know, comparable properties in the neighborhood and kind of get them looking at what price expectations will be before they are thinking about writing that offer. And you can review the tax records. This one seems kind of silly, but pretty important to ensure that the property is still available. So if you know that there's a property that your buyer is interested in, even maybe if you haven't even seen it yet, I would be calling that listing agent right away because stuff goes quickly and they may already be like, oh, well, yeah, it shows active, but we have 3 offers in hand right now. So you're going to want to make sure that this property is even available before your buyer gets all excited about it. And then you find out, oh, shoot, it's already pending, or, you know, we missed our chance at it because we didn't know offers were due today at 3 or something like that, right? So, you know, it's all about preparation and just making sure that you can get your buyer that shot if it's a property that they're going to like. And then here, I think, Viviana, you were talking about figuring out what the seller wants and everything. So speaking with the listing agent. So from that very first moment, you know, your buyer is potentially interested in a property, you can call the listing agent and go, hey, I have a client who's interested in this property, yada, yada, start gathering information. I wanted to ask you guys what type of questions you like to ask listing agents when you're starting to get information before you're preparing your offer.
The motivation for the seller to sell the house, number one, why they are moving. If they fix the house to sell, or this is how they lived in the house, they maintain the house. It's very, this is a big difference when people have been maintaining the house throughout the years and making it look really nice and living in a nice, beautiful house, or if they fixed it up just to sell.
Right.
The other thing, Amanda, I want to cover a few questions, initial questions that I always ask is how many disclosures are out there? How many offers? And is the agent himself or herself writing an offer on that house? So those are those are important things to know, to understand and convey to your client as to what they are dealing with on that house.
Yeah, those are all good. Does anybody have anything else that we hadn't covered yet?
Yeah, find out what the true points of what the needs of the sellers are. Do they need to stay rent back? Do they, where are they moving to? What are the needs? What's the key points here?
Yeah, great. Those are all good. I mean, the bottom line is getting your buyer as much information as you can, because you want them to be the most educated, where, there might be if you're going against multiple offers, there might be another agent who didn't ask those questions. We've seen it. If you've been on the listing side, you've probably seen where you just get an offer out of nowhere and this agent never even called you. So if your buyer is the one that has all that extra information, one of two of those things that you can include in your offer may get you the property and not the other guy, right?
Maybe they need free rent back for a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, and if you hadn't asked that, and somebody else did, maybe you had that chance, and maybe your buyer would have been willing to give them that, but you didn't know about it. So it's great to know all that information. And then they also say inquire about the activity, like AJ mentioned, disclosures, how many disclosure packages have been downloaded, how many offers they expect, everything like that. So you can kind of start getting a feel for how much activity there's going to be. And, is this going above asking? What do they, another one, maybe what do they think it might appraise for? If the listing agent, you can sometimes get a feel for where they might think the price might end up and things like that. So just some other things to think about.
Amanda, one other thing that I learned from this offer last week was to also always ask the listing agent if a personal introduction letter will help or not.
Mm-hmm.
That was very critical in our case, and I shared that with you last week also.
Yeah, and we have that in the next couple slides here too. So yeah, and then obtaining the seller disclosure statement. I mean, these materials are made for all over the US, but we also have reports sometimes, and most of the time it's become kind of normal here to have all the disclosures and inspections and everything. So if they have all of that, if you get them as soon as possible, if your buyer's interested, that way they have enough time to review them in case you end up writing an offer in a hurry. And then obviously find out if there's been other offers. Anybody have any questions? I don't want to be going too quickly if anybody had some questions. Okay, so now that you've kind of prepared, you've gotten your pre-approval, you've asked a bunch of questions, and now you need to write the offer. So, you want to find out if there's a due date or anything like that. And also if there's a due date, what time they might be reviewing the offer, because they may say offers are due at 1, but the listing agent says, I'm not meeting with my seller till 6 or 7 p.m. So you may know there may be a little wiggle room. Maybe you don't, you're not going to be in trouble if you don't get your offer in by 1. Maybe you can get some last minute information. Maybe you can keep following up. It all depends on the listing agent. And I think some of that, again, is going to fall into the negotiating class probably. But so when you're preparing to write the offer, let's see, we got another one of these things. So when you're writing the offer, what I like to do, it depends on the buyer's experience level. So a lot of times we end up working with first-time home buyers and they don't know anything about this process, right? Sometimes you have investors and they're like, just send me the contract. I don't care. Don't go over this with me. I know what I'm doing. But a lot of them, maybe somewhere in between as well. And maybe it's been a while, so they'd like to go over the process. So I like to set a time to, actually sit down with the buyers. Maybe now it would be over Zoom with a screen share, but, to actually go through the whole contract with them. And I tell them, like, you're the one signing this. So we want to make sure you know what you're signing and you're comfortable about it. And so, there's a bunch of points to the contract so that you're going to want to go through. And I explained to them, like, this is the standard state of California form that we all use, CAR forms, but that there's the blanks you fill in and those matter. So we want to go through all those. So sometimes I actually have a checklist that I send the buyers, but it depends on how fast things are moving and how much time you have to go over these things with them. But These are all things that you can go over with them, the price and terms. So how do you guys, I want to ask some of you guys, what are your conversations with buyers on when they ask you, because they're generally going to ask you, what should I pay for this property?
Hey, Amanda, I have a question for you on the first-time home buyers. One of the things that I spend a lot of time on is I send them in advance all the disclosures and ask them to read all of that. And then I set up a time, just as you talked about contract, I set up a time to go over, because they're first-time buyers. So they don't even know what to look for, whether it's inspection reports or property disclosures and stuff. Is that something that you also do along with the contract?
I will go over if they have questions, but you have to be very careful because we're real estate agents. We're not contractors. We're not electricians. We're not any of that stuff, right? So I let them know, you know, like I've seen stuff like this before and I can kind of tell I've read a bunch of inspections, but if you have further questions, what we can do is call the inspector and ask them, you know, what was this note that you made about this? What does this mean? You know, you can refer them to one of your favorite vendors or something like that. Does anybody else have kind of how they handle that?
What about disclosures, Amanda?
You mean like the TDS or something?
TDS and SPQ, yeah.
What specifically?
No, so do you go over that with them if they are first-time home buyers? I send that to them, make them read it, and then say, hey, if you have any questions, we can discuss that. Do you do that before?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this ends up being over email, right? So like you send it to them and go, hey, like, I just want to confirm you've received all of this. First of all, it's nice to have that back and forth in writing to make sure they got it. And then also, yeah, like, I mean, I always try to tell them, like, you're the one buying the house. You know, I've seen these before and stuff, and I can answer questions if you haven't, but I really want to make sure you've gone through this line by line and make sure you are comfortable with it and understand everything that you've read.
Okay, yeah.
Does that help? I don't know.
I know for me, Amanda, I know for like myself, I read through the disclosures and then I send a little summary of what's like little things to point out within the disclosures so that they can like kind of have a little guidance. If they're new to the whole process, obviously, even if they aren't new, like I'll still send a little mini summary with the disclosures when I send them over.
You have to be very careful, Nairi, because if there is anything you missed on the disclosures that is important to them, and they don't read the disclosures because they trust on your notes, you can have problems. So this is what you need to do. You have to say, okay, these are the things that I noticed, but specify in the email saying, I need you to read all the disclosures.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Missed something.
For sure, because then I also do tell them that they are also signing that they've acknowledged the disclosures themselves.
Very important that they
right.
That it's their responsibility to read the disclosures. These are the things that you just want to point out to them, but maybe you missed something. Always say that. I may have missed something that is important to you, so please read thoroughly all the disclosures.
Right, right.
So important.
Yeah.
And what is nice to me, what I like to do is, I like to go back to the house a second time before we write the offer with my clients, because we are going to see 4, 5, 6, 10 homes before they write an offer, right? So I like to go back to the house after we read the disclosures. And I tell them, we need to read the disclosures before we go back, because I want you to see physically the things that are in the disclosures. If there is a crack, if there is anything in the house, especially if the house that needs work, you need to see those problems. And so you can have a better idea how much it will be the cost to fix the house when they get the house before they move in. So, and it's nice to always, what I did many times was to go with a contractor to see the house, so they have an idea how much it's going to be to fix it up. And I learned the cost of some of the things, how to fix them. So of course, it always depends on how much they spend, the quality of the materials they use. If they want a very expensive kitchen, or they want just a regular kitchen, or just to have the basic, so there is a range of price to remodel the kitchen, right? So going with a contractor a couple of times, it will give you an idea how much it will be the cost to remove the popcorn ceiling, put new carpets, hardwood floors. So it's beneficial for both of you, the buyer and yourself, to have an idea the prices in the market to remodel.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also when you're coming up with your price to offer, you know, your buyer should take into consideration not necessarily what they want. Like, so if the paint is a different color than they like, but the paint's fine, like that's not something that would reduce market value of the property just because they don't like the color or whatever, right? So you want to kind of coach them to base their price based off of what the market value should be, not necessarily what their tastes are. And then what actual repairs are needed, not like maybe what they feel like it needs, but what it actually needs. Like if it needs a new roof, that's a legitimate concern, right? That's a big dollar amount. So that's different than like, well, I just don't like the paint, or I don't, whatever, right? So they should know the differences between what's like a want and a need when it comes to price. And then also, you reminded me too that in our market, sometimes we do no contingency offers. So in that case, you really want to be prepared. And like Viviana was saying, was taking them to the property again, really making sure they understand what they're buying. If they're going to write a no contingency offer, that means their deposit's at risk, right? So you really want to make sure they know exactly, and that you have all that in writing, that they've already reviewed everything and you've done your AVID upfront on the buyer side, and that everything's like locked up, because they may not have an out without risking that deposit. So I usually get that all like in an email or something saying, by the way, we discussed the possibility of what no contingencies means, and you understand that, and you agree that, you know, we're doing this because it's a competitive market, but you know, you're taking this risk. So I make sure that they really understand it, and that they've responded to your email saying like, yes, I understand the risks.
Yeah, I also force a lot of times for first-time home buyers, I make them go to the lender a couple of times and understand what it means to go non-contingent on both appraisal and loan contingency, Amanda. I mean, just to make sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, and regarding the contract, I like in the buyer presentation, the first meeting I have with my buyers, I ask them, would you like to have a sample of the purchase contract? So you have an idea of what you're going to sign. Now you have time to review it, time to read everything through. When we make an offer, maybe you will be very busy at work, children, maybe one of the children is sick, you won't have time to read the whole contract. It is nice to read now and ask me all the questions you have about the contract. And so they feel more comfortable signing, doing a digital signature if it is necessary. I like to write the first offer in person with my first-time home buyers. The first offer. After that, if they didn't get the house in the first one, it's okay if you do digital signature. But the first offer they write, the first offer in their life that they write, it has to be with somebody to show them, to talk with them. It is a big deal. It is very important that they know what they are signing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like part of figuring out, okay, is there an offer due date or time? So say you're showing them on the weekend and you go, are you going to want to write an offer on this house? And they say yes. And you know there's a due date of Tuesday. When can we meet? Since this is our first offer, can we meet Sunday night? Can we meet Monday night? Because the offers are due Tuesday and I want to make sure we have time, because it's going to take at least an hour for us to sit down and go through this contract and make sure you understand what all you're signing, especially when it's no contingencies. And then also on the checklist here, they have conveyances. So what items stay and go? You know, you want to know, does it come with the refrigerator? It doesn't always, right? So washer, dryer, things like that don't always come with the place. There could be other things. And there's also that section of our contract that has, you know, what's considered attached and what's not if there's a bunch of examples in the contract of what stays and goes with the property. So you can kind of make sure you go over that with them so they know what they're going to get. They don't walk into the house and go, where's the refrigerator? Earnest money. So, here we like to do 3%. It's not required, right? They can do whatever deposit they want. But I make sure to go over that with them. Time for seller to accept. We have that 3-day, and that's the default in the contract, but you can change it. You can make it 1 hour if you want. That's probably not very nice, but you can make it whatever you want in terms of the expiration date on your offer.
And the listing agent can help you with that, right? The listing agent can help you with the time frame when.
Yeah, you can ask the listing agent, like, how long do you need to respond? Or like, when are you going over the offers? Like, are you going over the offers tonight? Because then maybe you can put an expiration date of tomorrow and that they have enough time to get back to you. I almost never leave it the 3 days personally, because buyers are excited. They want an answer. It is painful to go 3 days with them wondering what's happening with my offer. Are they signing it? Also, it may not be a competitive edge for you to leave 3 days, because if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to go, we have 3 whole days to respond to this. I'm going to wait because this other guy says he's writing an offer tomorrow, right? So you kind of need to feel out the situation and decide what.
Amanda, I'd like to add too that as a listing agent, one of the things, and I know that a lot of people, I would actually call everybody that's looked at the house to say, hey, I have an offer in hand. Are you thinking of writing an offer, number one? And number two, understand that if you write an offer and you give them 3 days to respond, someone else could write an offer and kick you out. Even if you're looking at a counter offer, any of it, until it's received back, acknowledged, anyone could come in and take it from you. So my suggestion is that you keep it moving as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, you don't want anybody, I always say, like, we don't all want to be losing sleep for several days. And then also, it may not be good for you to leave it open for 3 days. That being said, I've seen listing agents, and maybe you guys agree, I've seen listing agents out there that just don't care about expiration dates. And they will just, if it's competitive and you put, you need to get back to me by tonight or tomorrow, like, they'll just leave it and just wait to see, because they know they have more offers and they know that you're going to wait around anyway. So
especially if they have multiple offers, it doesn't, to them, it doesn't matter, because most of my offers expire. I give 24 hours and all of them expire. They don't care, because they know they have the offers. I wanted to point out one more thing on the conveyances you said of what is included in the house and what is not included. I had a situation where, and that's why you have to check off and make sure what is coming with the property and what is not coming with the property. Zillow and MLS had a couple of different things on washer and dryer. Zillow said washer and dryer in the note there where you have the Zillow ad, and MLS didn't have. So maybe the listing agent first put in washer and dryer included, and then later on took it out, but that didn't get updated in Zillow. And my client came back and said, hey, I checked it in Zillow. He sent me the screenshot of the Zillow ad, which said it had a washer and dryer. So I had to go check with our broker, Mike, to see how to handle that. I mean, we handled it, but just something to be careful about.
Yeah, that's good to know. If there's a discrepancy on Redfin, Zillow, MLS on what's included or not, it's good to make sure. Just ask the listing agent in case there's a discrepancy.
And then just put what you want in the contract. The contract is it's the final thing, and then make sure that you check with listing agent and check and do that in the contract properly.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. So financing, I think AJ, I think it was you who mentioned, checking with the lender on what amount of time they need to close, what amount of time they need for an appraisal, what amount of time they need to have a loan contingency, or if they do not need one. And with the lender, the way I learned it was to be very careful, because a lot of us have our lenders that we like to work with and everything. And so we could just text them or email them or whatever, but you need to make sure that the buyer is having those conversations with the lender and that they understand what's happening. Because even though we work kind of as a team with the lender, a lot of that, you want to make sure that they've had that double checked directly with the lender. So I usually, in an email, I have like a checklist with all these things. And I say, you know, that you've checked with your lender that it can close in 21 days and that you're okay with that. And that, or if you're not doing a loan contingency, that you've discussed what that means with your lender, that you are already DU approved, there's no conditions left, like you have everything ready to go, and that you are okay with removing that loan contingency. Just another double check before you submit that offer, because once you're in, if they sign your offer, then you're in, you are committed to that. So if they understand all that risk going in, then it's not going to come back on like, wait, you didn't explain this to me correctly or whatnot.
And to add to that, Amanda, close of escrow, the amount of time to close escrow is become very, very important, especially during these unusual times of pandemic. So you need to really have the buyer and you check, because it is a competitive advantage to have sometimes to have quicker closes. But if you ended up putting something on a quick close and that is not acceptable to the lender, then you're going to find yourself in a little bit of a trouble, I think.
Yeah, and you want to check your dates too. A lot of people just put 30 days in the thing, but you can actually put a date instead of number of days. So I like to count out on the calendar and say, okay, well, today's whatever day, but they may not accept our offer for another 1 or 2 days. So let's start on that day. And then I'll go on the calendar and count out 21 days or whatever it is that your lender said okay with. And if that falls on a weekend or a Monday or a Friday, I don't like to use those days because, you know, if it falls on a Monday, the lender has to fund before that. And so they might be paying for their interest over the weekend, which just is not cool. And then if it falls on a Friday and if there's any delays, then you get delayed over a whole weekend. So it's good to schedule your closings on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And also be mindful of those random, you know, we have Monday holidays here and there, right? So be mindful of if there's like a holiday that week or something, because, you know, check with your lender on all those things, because, you know, they may be, them and escrow may be closed on the Monday. So if you had your closing on a Tuesday, again, that might not be a good idea, because if there's anything last minute, you're kind of bumping into the calendar not in your favor there. So, yep, very important to check on those. Let's see. Home warranty.
Amanda,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had, I was curious to find out what was the final outcome on that, that one where we were talking about the washer dryer on Zillow. And what was the final outcome when you went to Mike with that? And just curious to hear that.
Sure. Hi, Tom. Yes. So what happened was Mike said that, look, if even if you said a washer dryer include, because what happened was, Tom, was I checked off washer dryer is included, okay, on the contract, and it was signed, and we got the acceptance. But then when I went to the listing agent and said, hey, there is no washer dryer here. Are you going to provide a washer dryer? He said, look, you looked at the house a few times. There was no washer dryer. So even though on the contract you said washer dryer included, there is no washer dryer. So my buyer was not very happy about that, because he had seen it on Zillow, even though MLS said, didn't say anything about it. I went to Mike. Mike said, look, common sense things prevail in this case. If your buyer wants to fight it out in small courts, that's fine. But if you didn't see a washer dryer in the house and it was not there, and in the MLS it was not written the washer dryer is included, even if you put it in the contract that, hey, include the washer dryer is included, the listing agent may have grounds on saying, look, common sense wise, it was not there, and it was not there on MLS, even though it was there on Zillow. So ultimately I explained that to my buyer, and even though he was not the happiest person, he understood and he was okay with it. But that's how we resolved it. it, Tom, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks for the update on that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Something
Cool.
Come on.
Laura, if you're there, if you could mute everybody. I'm not sure, there's some noise coming through.
Come on, people, mute yourselves.
Something I always do before I make an offer, I have a template email that I send to all my buyers, and I put, what's the purchase price they want? How many days for remove contingency? So everything is on writing for me. I want to have my clients to think very seriously, because sometimes you talk over the phone, you agree on certain terms, and then they said, oh, Viviana, but I didn't agree with this. I didn't agree with that. No contingency for the appraisal, no contingency for the loan. They have to put it on writing. It is very, very important. And if there is a change of mind in between, let's say we agree we are going to make an offer for 1,100,000. And then we talk over on the phone and they say, okay, Viviana, we can go a little bit higher, 1,130,000. Okay, perfect. Send me an email that purchase price will be 1,130,000, not 1,100,000 as we had in the initial email. So everything has to be on writing, everything. So if for any reason you go to court, you have everything on writing. There is nothing to worry about. And they understand that.
Yeah, you're one slide ahead of me on all that.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's perfect. So yeah, just a couple, I guess there's a couple more left on this page here, but repairs, if there's any repairs, work that out. If there's any special contingencies or anything, like if they're having to sell a house before they buy, make sure you really go through all that. That's a whole nother ball game. And then the cover letter. So I'm going to switch back over here. So Viviana was just talking about her letter that she includes an email to the buyers. This is one that I just have in my notes in my computer, that because I, was doing this over and over with buyers, I just copy pasted this out into my notes on my computer. So anytime I'm writing an offer, I can just shoot this over in an email. And this may be before I meet with the client and maybe after, but you can, I just kind of put all the bullet points of the high level stuff, like the price, get your pre-approval letter tailored. Do you want to include a personal letter to the seller? Your down payment amount, just confirm, was it 20% down? Was it, let me know what you wanted to include in the offer. And then, do you have 3% right now? Because they may forget that it needs to be available within the first couple days of if their offer gets accepted, right? So that's an easy one to overlook. Maybe their money's in stock and they need a couple days to sell it and get their cash out, or maybe it's in a different account that they can't necessarily bring a check to escrow right away. So you need to make sure, hey, 3% can be a chunk on, $1 million house. So you make sure they actually have that ready to go to write a check or wire. And ask which form they want to do it. Personal check, are they going to walk to escrow? Whatnot, just set that expectation so they know if their offer is accepted, what they're doing the next day. Full names. Sometimes our clients have unique or long names, so you want to make sure you have it right. So I have them type it out, send me an email with their actual name, how they want it on the contract. And then contingencies, loan appraisal inspection, again, how many days they want, have you talked to your lender, how quickly can your lender close. Optional, depending on what you discussed with them, you can add in, who's paying for title and escrow, HOA, home warranty, depends on your how you're structuring your offer. And then I included, this is one of my clients that we got our offer accepted with this letter. I actually had the client write it. I was like, do you want to write a letter to the sellers, just saying how much you like the house and everything. So they, we love the layout. We love, we want to envision our family, raising our family in this house, and we're really excited and everything. And so these can go a long way. I will say this about doing these letters. You want to know who the seller is before you write one of these letters. If it's like an investor seller or something, they may not care. Like this, it may be a waste of time, right? But if it's a family that's owned the house a long time and you kind of get the sense, and you can even ask the listing agent, do you think your client would like a cover letter? And they may say, yeah, I know my client, and I think if you include something like this, they might really like it. So you can kind of get a sense of whether it's appropriate to include something like this. And, it happens that if you're tied with another offer, or even maybe a little less than another offer, you might win just because of that emotional connection your buyer can establish with the seller. Does anybody have anything they want to share on that or any questions on that?
Amanda, I have a question for you. Have you, how many times or have you run into a situation where a buyer reads through the contract and, you know, there are sections where it talks about broker compensations and things like that? They have gotten into and say, hey, what is this section? Can you explain this? And how do you handle those?
I haven't. Usually in my buyer consultation prior to even getting in this offer writing stage, explain how real estate agents get paid, because they don't know. Sometimes they think we're like getting paid by the hour by Keller Williams to go show houses, right? They have no idea how this works on our end. So I let them know, like, you know, both the listing agent and myself get paid by a prior agreement through the seller. Like, they've already agreed on the compensation on this, and I get paid $0 per hour until we get you the home that you like, and I don't get my check until you get your keys, so that they understand how that works.
Got it. Yeah.
You know, and some buyers will ask for credit back and things like that, and we've all seen that, and that's up to your individual preference if you choose to do that, or if you're just like, I don't do that, it's not part of my business. Some people choose to do it because they'd rather have the business than they go to the next guy who will do it. So that's up to individual decision.
Yeah, I was more talking about just during the conversations, how do you handle explaining to them how we get paid? So yeah, you answered that question. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and most people don't have an issue with it. I mean, they're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, especially buyers, you know, it's easier, I think, with buyers because you're like, well, I get paid by the prior agreement through the seller, and they're like, oh, okay, I don't have to pay you anything. Great, whatever. You know, like they don't think much of it, and then they're just like, okay, moving on. So this is if you were on the beginning, we were talking about, there is a section in here on you eventually will be able to do offers through command, but we're gonna skip that for now. I think that's later. So offer writing guidelines. So another way to make your offer stand out is in your cover letter. So like, this is an example that was in the slides of writing a cover letter. You can have so there was the one with the client and like their family, but then you can also have one from you saying like, this is about me and about our offer and da-da-da. And so like, I put an example of, this is an email that I just copy paste most of the time when I put in an offer. And it just says like, hi to the listing agent, you know, thank you for the opportunity to present our offer. And then, you know, because it's a lot for them to go through the RPA. So it's nice to have like bullet points of what your offer has, the main highlights, especially if they're good things to highlight. Like if you know your price is fantastic, like stick that right on top, you know. And if you're waiving contingencies, I would put like no contingencies in big letters so they know like, hey, this is a solid offer. But yeah, I just put the bullet points so that they can easily look when they open their email. And then I also include like the lender information and that they're going to reach out to you. Like the lender is going to reach out to the listing agent and just say how strong our buyers' finances are and that we've already vetted everything. And I'll also include the lender information in case they want to call them and just say, no, thank you, and please confirm that you've received this offer. And you know, if you have a transaction coordinator, include them on there. But yeah, anybody else have any suggestions on that or things that they've done that works in terms of your cover letter to the agent?
Amanda, there is in Zip Forms, it automatically generates that summary of your offer too. So if somebody doesn't want to write this, that's also there, which actually tells everything about the offer in a summary.
Cool, that's good to know. We're gonna skip over the role play stuff because I know you guys have, after class, you have your partners and stuff, so we'll do that. So presenting the offer, basically, you know, you can include your cover letter, like we said. I think we kind of went over most of this already. Have your deadline. We kind of all went through most of this. Let's see. So
I wanted
the
to make a
seller,
comment.
oh, yeah, go
And I
ahead.
wanted to make a comment on presenting the offer. There
Uh-huh.
are still some old-fashioned agents who actually allow you a chance to present in person, and sometimes the seller is also there. I found that if you have an opportunity to present in person, and this happened to me, and I was, it was a very good outcome. And if the seller is there, I highly recommend to go and present in person. I've had some amazing experiences with that. It's good learning, and it gives you a better chance if you are presenting and somebody else is not presenting. I don't know what your thought on that is, but that I've had very, very good experiences.
I have to say, Tom and I, that was the only way we actually presented offers at one point. We didn't have these newfangled faxes and stuff like that. I mean, we actually had to go to the seller's house and present, right, Tom? Tom?
Yeah, I am here. I remember standing in a lobby at several different times with other agents waiting for our turn to present an offer to a seller who was in an office. And so there were multiple offers, and all us agents would be standing there with our offers in hand, wondering who's got what and who's going to win.
Yeah, and I actually, and AJ, I'm glad you brought that up. I think that as a realtor representing a buyer, it's our responsibility to, number one, ask to present to the seller. And if the seller says no, the next is ask to present to the agent who's going to present to the seller. And if he says no, at least take the offer to the office. I'm old school. Take the offer to the office and, you know, drop it off personally. They are beginning to judge your work ethic from the beginning. So if you're going out of your way and doing that kind of stuff, it makes you look better.
I absolutely agree, Renee, that anytime you have an opportunity to show the listing agent that, hey, you will go to any length to work for your buyers and stuff, that can only help. All these little things can help. I love doing it the old-fashioned way. I'm a new agent, but an old-fashioned guy. So.
Well, I also bring my lender, the buyer's lender. I bring with me along with the presentation, and I ask my buyer to be available if there is any negotiation that happens on my presentation. And you know, I can get the house right there and then. I talk with the listing agent. This is my offer. How can we make it work? Is this a good offer? What can we change? We can change right now the terms of the offer for your buyer to be the right offer for them. So and we talk about it, and we make any changes that are needed, and we get the house right there. It is amazing what you can do when you present the offer in person. And the lender is there to tell them, this is a strong offer, I pre-approve, completely pre-approve, and the writing pre-approval for the loan. The only thing I need is the appraisal and the updated bank statements, and we are done. We go to docs. We can close in 18 days. We can close in 21 days. You know, the seriousness of the presentation, it is key to get the house.
Hey, Amanda, can I share a quick story with Renee and Tom about presenting the offer really quickly? I went and presented an offer about a few months ago, and there were 10 offers, okay? And we were fourth or fifth number, and we were $50,000 less than the highest offer in Santa Clara. And yet the seller, just because I presented in person and the seller was there and the thing was there, the seller forced the listing agent to give me a counter. It was amazing. It was so incredible because, and the listing agent was coming and telling me, I don't know why she wants to do this. You're not going to be able to come up with 50,000, but she forced me to give you an counter. It was an amazing story. Amazing story.
That's awesome. I mean, that just goes to show, you know, when you're staying in touch with the listing agent and showing that you you're on top of it and you know what you're doing, that they're going to want to work with you. And that, you know, knowing, and they're going to tell their seller about that. Like, look, this agent's been on top of this whole way through, and they know what they're doing. And I think they're ambitious, and that they're going to want to make sure we see this through all the way to the end. And that kind of goes into presenting to the seller here, because once you're on the listing side of this, it's basically all in the reverse, right? So you want to be making sure that when you're looking at all these offers, that the agent is on top of things, the paperwork's all filled out, you know, it has all the terms you're looking for. And when you're on the listing side of it, like, your seller wants to make sure that they're going with the offer that's the most likely to close, and also what has the terms they want, right? So they're concerned because they don't want to fall back out of escrow. They don't want to have to go find another buyer. Like, they want to make sure this is going to close. That's the end goal. And so, you know, when you're basically doing everything in reverse, you're vetting the buyer, you're vetting the lender. And I like Viviana's, I hadn't heard that before, of bringing the lender along to an in-person presentation, because they're concerned about the lender too. They want to know that this is a lender who's experienced and knows what they're doing, and they're not going to drag things along and need extensions on timelines and things like that. So we also have a checklist. I know we're kind of like short on time here, but maybe we can go through this a little bit. Checklist for reviewing the offer. So silly, but you want to make sure the address is the correct house. Price, you know, is that what your seller is looking for? The deposit, what are they putting in deposit? When are they putting the deposit in? Make sure that you're checking on their pre-approval and their proof of funds that they have the money they say they have, and that they can, it looks like they're solid in their finances, and that the agent and the lender have really double checked on these things. And you can call the lender yourself, or if they call you, even better, that showing that they're on top of it. But you want to just really do your due diligence on making sure that this looks like a solid offer. Sometimes, you know, we have social media nowadays, right? You can, you want to Google the buyers and see, you know, stalk them a little bit, and or on the other side of things too. If you're writing an offer for a seller, you can maybe look them up on Facebook or something. See if people have something in common with them. Just look for anything you can to find that little edge. Pretty much all of this is in the reverse. So I think we kind of talked a lot about pre-approval, financing terms, home warranty. I mean, you're basically going to check all those things in the contract to make sure the buyer's included everything, and then explain all those to your seller and what that means, who's paying for what. Now, what you can also do, which I do it in the listing presentation up front, is include a net sheet for your seller. So when an offer comes in and you can give them an estimate, because you say, you know, I estimate the house might sell about this, and just tell them this is all estimates, and it can change depending on the buyer's offer, because a lot of these points are negotiable. But you can show them, like, if you're paying for home warranty, if you're paying for title and escrow and all those things, this is what you're going to net in the end after you repay your loan. And so you may even want to do that with when you receive offers from a buyer. You can say, okay, this offer is at 1.3 million. Now, we went over that net sheet at the beginning, but I made you a new one based on 1.3 million. So that can show you what you're going to walk away with if we accept this offer. You can also ask your title company to make one for you. They usually are really nice about helping you out with that kind of stuff. Anybody have anything else on that? All right, sounds like not. We also have, you know, HOA disclosures. Make sure you have everything. A lot of times if the buyer has already signed everything, even before the offer, that's nice, because you really know that they've already reviewed everything. And possession date's really important, so that they know, you know, what day they need to be moved out by and things like that, and what that means, and that they need to get all their stuff out. And just make sure you set all those expectations up front so they don't feel like surprised by later on.
Amanda, usually what I do is I tell the seller that once all the contingencies are removed, of course, you guys do business crazy up there. We do business, you know, with regular contingencies. Usually I tell them when all the contingencies have been removed, at that point, start packing. And, you know, because at that point we know, worst case, they'll at least get the deposit to make up for anything. So
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And same with like staging and stuff like that. I won't request staging to be removed until contingencies are removed, because then you feel like you're a little bit more home free at that point. But yeah, at that point, you're responding to the offer and you're coaching your seller. Are we countering? Are we accepting, or are we rejecting and waiting for a better offer? So, and again, we kind of talked about that on the buyer side of things. It's just the same, just in reverse. And there's that. So I think that's kind of everything. Anybody have any ahas they want to share? Or we'll do 3.
Hey, Amanda, great class. One of the ahas for me from this class is what you talked about, maybe stalking the buyers and sellers a little bit and trying to figure out, get as much information as you can, right? To make yourself that much more competitive. So.
Yeah, you don't want to be creepy about it, but hey, if it helps. Couple more ahas. Anybody who hasn't shared yet?
Just for you, Amanda, listen, through this whole thing this morning, I kept thinking about how bright you are and articulate. And thanks so much for being here this morning and being so great at this. Listen, I'm just overwhelmed by your greatness.
Thank you. I was kind of terrified because this is my first time doing this, so I really appreciate that.
Well, excellent job.
Hey, Amanda, you're getting lots of nice comments in the chat section too there. You might be able to see them now. I was just going to tell you to just end.
Yeah.
So people loved you. Good job.
Very nice. Thank you so much, Amanda. Great job.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right. I'm going to head out. Enjoy your script practice.
Have a good day, everybody. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.